What do you do when you have bleed through in your journal? So I have 2 pages suffering from bleed through from projects on the other side, and last week I shared with you what I did at that left hand side page where there was a lot of yellows and pinks coming through from a Sharpie floral design. And if you missed that, you can catch up with that video, and I've put a link in the cards and the description for you. Now this week, as promised, I've got the results of the other page and what I did with the bleed through on that page. And that bleed through, I mean, it's coming through not only a layer of gesso, but also a layer of white paint as well. I know, crazy, right? Okay, so it's a little bit more subdued bleed through than that other page, but what do you think? Do I use it or do I cover it up? Well, let's see. And I know the answer because I've seen this movie before. No spoilers, well, unless you saw the video thumbnail, of course. And as always, the products that I'm using today are all listed in the description below, along with what colours I'm using. Now, as I said, I've already got a layer of white paint on this page, and there's other bits of paint as well from previous projects here. But unlike that left-hand page, this one, I'm just going to ignore the paint and focus more on that bleed through design. But I thought I would start the page and break up that new page ice a little bit by adding some colour with a watercolour wash, just to soften it up a little bit. And I've kind of gotten a little bit obsessed with the Izink acrylic inks at the moment. Do you have these? I must show you some colour mixing with them. If you've got them, dig them out and try colour mixing with them, because you can make some really lovely colours with them, which I was quite surprised by. In fact, I'll show you some results of mixing these a little later. In the meantime, now that I've eased myself into this page, it's time to do something about that bleed through, and what I'm going to do is use it to inspire a painted doodle on this page. As you saw, the bleed through is quite faint, even fainter now that I've neutralised it a little bit with the same colour washes over the top. But I can still see it, just not sort of really well. So what I'm going to do is not going to be an exact copy of it. It's just going to be a vague sort of copy of what I can see. So I'm not going to overthink it, I'm just going to let the doodle grow in whichever way it kind of wants to, using those bleed through marks as the catalyst for getting this on this page. And I thought I would do this too with the Izink acrylic ink as well, just to stay in the same colour range as that wash. Now this paper that I'm adding is some old pattern paper, and I just thought the colours would work nicely together, and I decided to just stick it down very quickly with some gel medium, which later I do end up regretting, but a bit more of that in a minute. And you know, I said that the colour mixing of these Izink inks was really good. So this is a mix of the turquoise and the amethyst. Isn't it pretty? Just a stunning blue. Rather like the petrol blue colour that I'm getting pretty obsessed about. So it's around about here that I'd wish I'd spent just a little bit more time putting those designer papers down with layers of medium rather than just quickly dabbing medium on the back to stick them down. Because as I paint over them, the colour sinks in rather unattractively, I think, and I don't really like the way it's turning out. And that wouldn't have happened if I'd sealed it in with a layer of medium over the top. But hey ho, that's what happens when pages develop in ways you weren't really expecting, isn't it? Now I left this page overnight because I was working on a few other things, other projects at the same time. And then I got to a point on this page where I wasn't really sure where I was going to take it. So I let this one sit and came back to it the next day. And when I came back to it, I decided to add a black line. Now I love black lines. I use them a lot, as you know. But I'm also trying to break away from them and not rely on them so much, because they do tend to be my go-to technique to bring pages together or add focal points or any of this kind of stuff. So I have to admit, I was kind of a little disappointed with myself that it ended up on this page, because I wanted the page to be black line free, but I didn't like the way the doodle, it was just a little bit too rough, so I thought that the black line would add a little bit more definition to it. And I wanted to get the page to somewhere where I would be happy with it. So that's kind of how that happened. So black line it is, and I do like the results, but I am still, even at the end, still a little bit disappointed with myself that I couldn't complete this page without using a black line. I really have to sort of try and do that, exercise that a little bit more. But you can make your own decisions about my choices when you see the final results and, you know, work out what you would have done differently or the same or whatever. And once the black line was down, I decided that I needed to tone down the background just a little bit. And here you go, my obsession with dark blues kick in again. First I thought that glaze of that beautiful indigo blue colour, which is a translucent colour, would do the trick, but then that decision to not seal my papers came back to haunt me again. So I jumped right on in and went totally block out on that background with a few layers of this paint. And that kind of evened it out for me. I think the ink splatter adds in that same colour as a lot of the doodle, just gives you a little bit more texture on that blocked out colour, and also helps to bring the circle doodles together with the background so they don't look too separate. So another way to deal with the dreaded bleed through, and I've put together this video playlist for you which is full of art journal inspiration to get you into your journals, so I will see you there.